connected. Okay, call the meeting to order at 7:06. Can we please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Roll call, Mary?
Yes. Susan Seltzer,
Here.
Thomas O'Brien,
Here.
Matthew Buckley,
Here.
Michelle Kaiser,
Here.
Yukon Lee,
Here.
Barbara McInerney,
Here.
Aaron Nowak.
Here.
Thank you.
Okay, can I have a motion to approve the agenda as presented or amended? Motion, please.
I make a motion.
Thank you,
I
Barbara. Second, TJ. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Motion passes 7-0. May I have a motion to approve the minutes of September 14th, 2020, board meeting as presented? Motion? TJ, second.
I'll make a motion.
Someone? Thank you. All in favor? Aye. Motion passes 7-0. Move on to the statements and presentations to the board. I'll start. I just want to start with, it's School Board Appreciation Week this week. Thank you to my fellow board members for your service. Our NYSED convention is virtual this year and runs this week and next week. It's our opportunity to go training, meet with our peers, and see the new products and services on the expo floor. Not really sure how that's going to happen this year. The expo floor is one of my favorite things, but it's going to be virtual, so never know. We might come back with something new next month. It is National School Lunch Week. Thank you to our food service staff for all they do. This year has been very different, and we appreciate everybody's efforts. It's also Bus Safety Week this week, so we want to thank our drivers for always going above and beyond for our kids. And October 2nd was National Custodian Day, and the board would like to give them a special thank you for what they do during these difficult times. We would not be where we are today without all of their hard work and dedication. So thank you to them also. Okay, Sarah, what do we have up next?
Do you want to do different committee updates?
Do you want to do the committee reports or do you want to do the audit report first?
Up to you.
Okay, I'll do committee reports. I'm reporting in on our Buildings and Grounds Facilities meeting. The MERV 13 filters are being installed as they come in. Large spaces are completed in both buildings and the 4-5 side of the middle school also. We're continuing to follow the recommendations of the engineer and the HVAC contractor of fresh air and open dampers, and they will continue to be installed, and we'll update you again next month. Construction project is continuing to go on. We met and went over the punch list and some of the issues that need to be completed. Rob and Sarah are diligently, always, nonstop, working on this project, and it is taking a long time. We appreciate their efforts. Board members, if you have any other questions on the construction, please just send an email or ask now. We also discussed outdoor tents being purchased for classroom space outside and decided to hold off due to the time of the year and the weather change. Sarah also asked other districts for input on how much their tents have been used. And then adding sides to a tent to use this time of year brings in SED requirements to factor in. So we're going to revisit this as a committee before spring and come back to the full board then. Policy committee also met this month. We went over the data privacy policy that is required for the new state law. The first reading.
Real quick, Sue.
Sure.
Just
You want to
So
add
it
in
is-
something on facilities?
Yeah.
Okay, go right
Um,
ahead, TJ.
When it came to the tents, some of the SCD requirements were about certain types of lighting, exit signs, and then
Right.
it comes to electrical issues of how do we do it
And
safe.
heat.
Yeah, it wasn't that we didn't so much want to do it. It was just there was so much that went into it that by the time we figured everything out, it would have been way too cold to even use the space. That's the reason why we decided to hold off on it.
Right. And we're also looking into storage containers for storing some of the excess furniture this year, because we need to open up our gym now that the weather's changing. And our long-term solution is a 3-bay pole-barn storage unit, but we're still in the works with that on exactly where it's going to go and how to get that done. We do need more storage at the school, in the middle school. So it continues to be a discussion. We'll come back to the full board when we have a better idea. Okay, back to policy. Tonight, we're also going to do the first reading of the section of the new NYSED policy book of 1,000, 2,000, and 3,000. That's on the agenda for your approval tonight. We've asked the NYSED Policy Service again for a time frame on the 4,000 section. It's been delayed due to COVID, and we are hoping to have it in early November. Okay, I think that's it for me. The Audit Committee and the Audit Report is up next. Michelle, you are the Audit Committee person. Would you like to take over right now?
Sorry about that. Sure, the Audit Committee met a few days ago to kind of go into in-depth understanding of the audit report, and thanks to Jen who explained it, you know, in layman's terms for us. So she's going to give us just a quick summary of everything, and I guess pretty much that's about it.
Okay, over to me.
Yes.
Okay. All right. So yes, I have met with the audit committee. I met with them earlier this evening to go over the June 30, 2020 financial statements. I'm pleased to say that we have issued clean or unmodified opinions on the financial statements of the district this year. The district is in strong financial position and continues to have sufficient cash to meet current liabilities, as well as being well reserved. If you remember, in prior years, we had some major changes to the financial statements related to the other post-employment benefits and the TRS and ERS pension liabilities. These pronouncements require districts to record the full actuarially determined unfunded liability for OPEB, as well as the actuarially determined asset or liability for TRS and ERS pension plans. This year, there were no major changes to the financial statements or the reporting in the financial statements. Up on your screen there, you have graphs related to your revenues, and the next slide shows the expenditures for the June 30, 2020 versus June 30, 2019 year. As I mentioned, some of the biggest changes were the OPEB and the ERS and TRS pension liabilities. Just want to point out that if you look at the expense side, you will see, if you look at the employee benefits for 2020 versus 2019, it does show that there was a 10% increase in cost. I just want to point out that this is after recording the actuarially determined liabilities for the other post-employment benefits and the TRS and ERS pension liabilities. The OPEB is an unfunded liability. It's an accounting entry that has to get recorded. So this was not actual cash payments that went out that increased, that amount by 10%. So it's just these actuaries determine their numbers based on a lot of inputs, one of them being the discount rate that they used in their calculations. And when they change those rates, it can dramatically change the liabilities. And in this case, this past year, those rates in the discounts that they were using changed significantly from prior years. So that's why you see such a large change there. But just want to be clear that it's not actual cash payments that caused that increase there. They're accounting entries to record unfunded liabilities that are required per governmental accounting standards to be included in the district's financial statements. I just wanted to kind of point that out and make sure that everyone's on the same page with that. This is just another look at the expenditures and net service costs for the year, and just shows the graph. So looking at it comparatively, you can see year over year what the amounts are. Again, all of these numbers are after the full accrual entries are made for the government's depreciation expenses, and to record all of your long-term debt, which does not get recorded on the fund statements, but gets recorded on the entity-wide statements. Okay, I'm happy to say all findings and adjustments were discussed with management and addressed in a timely manner, and any proposed adjustments were made by the district. Like to just let you know that your business office continues to do an excellent job accounting for the books and records. They're always a pleasure to work with, and they make this process very smooth, and we appreciate all of their hard work and effort throughout the audit. Does anyone have any questions?
Any board members have any questions? No? Okay. Thank you, Jen. And thank you to Anne and her wonderful department for always giving us a great audit report.
Yes, for sure. Thank you.
Thank you, Jen. Sarah? What's up next?
Thank you for the opportunity to speak this evening on behalf of the district. I want to start with a quote that the great aim of education is not knowledge, but action. And there is nothing like a board member in terms of taking action for the community, for the residents, the village, and especially our staff, and then for our students. The district is lucky to have you. Each of you took action by running for the board and now sitting on the board. It is a volunteer position and a thankless position. And you truly, each of you lead by example, and we all appreciate you very much.
Thank you, Sarah.
Just to do a COVID update, we have had a total of 4 cases to date in our district. That is an equivalent of 0.6% of our total population. That's students and staff. We do a deep cleaning every single night. We do early on when we were having conversations about the cleaning levels that we wanted to do. The board and I and the administration, the teachers and the custodians, we all discussed that it was really important to do a deep cleaning every single day, not just once a week. We wanted to do it every single night. So I know one of the questions that's come up is, why aren't we closing for a deep cleaning? And the answer to that is we are doing everything we can to clean the district and clean the rooms and clean the spaces every single night and throughout every single day. So when someone comes in the next day, between the time the children leave and the time they come in the next morning, the entire district has been cleaned top to bottom and disinfected and sanitized. And that is a true testament to the skill of our custodial staff that they are able to do so on a daily basis. We do report our COVID cases to the dashboard as required by the New York State Health Department and New York State Education Department and Cuomo. That was a fire, not a gunshot. But I do want you to know that the data is not always accurate. That is a direct quote from the New York State Education Department. So if you are going on there and seeing that, what I send out in a letter isn't necessarily reflected in the dashboard, they are still working out kinks in the system. but I do promise that I'm updating the information every single day. Susan Lepre keeps track of our student numbers and how many students are enrolled in remote versus in person. We have the school nurses every day reporting how many students they're sending home or if they've sent staff home, and we enter that information daily. I have reported to the State Department some of the misrepresentations in our data, and I've sent back with a spreadsheet. I did update that spreadsheet, but I have not seen that reflected in the state dashboard yet. But if anyone ever has any questions on anything related to COVID, please reach out to me. I am ready and available to answer questions. The theme for this year from me, and you'll see them on the bottom of my emails in my signature line, and I've said it over and over again with staff and administrators and students and parents, is to plan the best that you can, but remain flexible, and to practice kindness and patience with yourself and others. That's kind of the main theme of this year. I just want to say that everyone is here in district doing the work. We are persevering. It has absolutely not been easy, but every single person is dedicated and has been stepping up to the plate. And I just want to read a few examples. I'm not going to use any names because truly this could be anybody in the district. We have people that had a scheduled vacation day and ended up coming in because we needed a body. Teachers redoing their schedules to better fit the needs of students. Teachers covering classes for each other. Dropping off materials at homes. Teachers staying late for material pickup. Researching tech issues and teaching other teachers. Uploading content into Google Classroom for a teacher that was out sick. Bus drivers doing double bus runs in order to make sure all students arrive on time and where they need to be. A teacher stepping up and training teachers and parents on their own time on the new technology. The nurses and the assistants working on the new COVID protocols that are ever changing, and the immunizations that were still in effect this year. Business office personnel literally scouring the internet for youth-sized disposable masks when they weren't even really a thing yet, and finding them. Students remoting in to visit classmates during an absence. Custodians have been working nearly every weekend, participating in feedback with the administration, participating in discussion, and helping do what it takes to get the job done. Those are just a few examples. It truly is taking a village to do this year, and I cannot be more appreciative of what everyone has done that's an employee of the district. It's just been an outstanding fall. Moving on, I just want to talk just a snippet about the high school contract. I've been in negotiations with both Chester and Warwick superintendents. I went over and met with them one-on-one, as well as I've had several phone conversations with them. We are looking to approve our new contract in November or December, and that contract would start next school year. It has gone very smoothly so far. It's been a very positive process, very collaborative, going back and forth, sharing ideas on how to create the best contract for all districts. At this time, I'm going to turn it over to Lena Polchinski, who is our Director of Curriculum Instruction, and she is going to briefly go over the 3 through 8 state testing update, let you know about our participation rate improvement plan, which is on tonight's agenda, and then talk about the shifting instructional model opportunity. Ms. Polchinski?
Yes. Good evening. Just a few updates tonight.
Oh, no, hold on. It's not traveling anymore. Zoom must have changed the setting. I apologize. Hold on one second. Okay.
It's okay.
Okay, I apologize. Go ahead.
That's okay. Just a few updates from October. We just received a memo from NYSED about the 2021 state assessments. So at this time, the department has determined that it will not be possible to administer any of this year's state assessments remotely. which means all state assessments, if they happen, will have to happen in person. If it is determined that that exams cannot be safely and fairly administered to students in person in school buildings, at that time, the state education department will then apply for federal waivers from testing and accountability requirements. Okay, so the ESSA 2021 Participation Rate Improvement Plan, this is required when for 2 consecutive years, the same accountability subgroup has a participation rate of on either of the state assessments in ELA or math that is below 95%. The middle school was identified as requiring a submission of a participation rate improvement plan. Collaboration with administrators, parents, and teachers aided us in developing this plan, and submission to the portal is due in late November 2020. And change of enrollment for Q2, families will have the opportunity to change their instructional enrollment status for the Q2 from remote to in-person or in-person to remote. The form must be completed only if families plan to make a change for their child's current enrollment status. Families will also then be given a choice to update their transportation needs based on that enrollment status. And the email with the linked forms to both surveys will be sent out to families this week.
Does the board have any questions on any of those 3 items?
Nope.
Our participation rate is, of course, nowhere near 95%. I'm hoping that this year they're just we have a waiver and we don't have to deal with state tests. I would like to hopefully not do too much pushing to take the test or not take the test. I like neutral. But that's it. That's just my comment.
Thank you.
Any questions from any other board members or comments before I move on? Okay. Transportation. Ron Mackey, our transportation supervisor, is going to give you an update on transportation and where we are. And Ron, you'll be able to share your screen. He's going to first start with a ridership update for you. Maybe. I saw him on here earlier. Ron?
I'm here.
Oh, okay.
You have to stop screen sharing before I can screen share.
Yep, go ahead.
Okay. All right, so I went through some of the numbers of our current ridership, and this is based on students who are in school and students who are remote, or students who have whose parents have elected to drive them to school. So for our remote students and students who are being driven to school by their parents, they are not included in these numbers. To start off with our middle school, we were looking at, let me just back up for 1 second here. First thing I wanted to talk about was bus capacity.
Ron, can you zoom in just a little bit so we can see?
I can, yes. Zoom in. Is that better?
Yes, thank you.
So bus capacity is based on the rated capacity of the bus with 3 students to a seat. So when we talk about a 50% capacity, what we are actually looking at is a number that's somewhere in between here. So if we have 2 students in every seat, our capacity would be 66%. If we have 1 student in every seat, that bus would be filled to a capacity of 33%. And if we had 1 student every seat, every other row, like we had initially been afraid we might have to do, that would put us at a 17% capacity. So bearing that in mind, if you look at these numbers for our middle school routes, and I think that's zoomed in close enough here. Right now we have 7 middle school routes. We had traditionally run 6 middle school routes, but in order to provide social distancing on those routes, we have tried to put in another bus, which was an overflow bus of some of the other routes. So Route G is currently running at about 52 to 53%, and I'll get to that in a second. Route H is about 35% in the morning, 36 in the afternoon, and these numbers are based on the students assigned to the buses. So if you see 52 to 53%, you may not have those numbers of students on the buses. 35 to 36 on Route H, 29 to 30 on Route I, Route J, 45 to 47, Route K, 41 to 39, Route L, 41%, and Route T, which is the new route that we were able to add this year, is at 32 to 30%. So essentially Route T is made up of students that were living in the area of the elementary school bus garage, that central area that all of our buses would be departing from in the morning. And we took some of those stops and some of those students off of the other routes to ease the load and created this 7th route for the elementary school. This was a route last year that took students to Sacred Heart. Since Sacred Heart is closed, this bus is available to do that, and the driver is available to do that. So also on this route, sometimes we have some of our students that go to the backpack club would typically be on G. So if we're loading at the middle school in the afternoon and she sees that she's over capacity, she will have those backpack students go to Route T, which will drop them off because she will have the additional room. Looking at our elementary routes, it's zoomed in, so it's so currently we have 4 buses that service the elementary route: Route G, Route H, Route I, and Route L. And these buses are all pretty close to being safely loaded in terms of social distancing: 17%, 38, 39%, 26%, and 36 and 38% on the last route. So just going to zoom out a little bit. So these routes for the elementary school are lined up with their counterparts for the middle school. So you can kind of see. So we have 7 buses doing the middle school, and we can comfortably cover the elementary school with 4 buses. The numbers were reversed. If we had higher numbers in the elementary school, it would be easy enough to have another bus assume some of that load over in this area. However, that's not the case. Our middle school buses are the ones that we're more concerned about at this point. So our average capacities that we're looking at are 39% for the middle school and 30% for the elementary school. Looking at our out-of-district runs, we talked about high school a minute ago. So we have 4 buses that are servicing the Warwick buses, the Warwick High School routes. And we also on those buses have some students that attend a private school right in the vicinity of Warwick. So those students ride with those buses. Warwick is going on an alternate schedule, an A through L and an M through Z. So if we look at those numbers and the capacities on those buses, we're doing pretty good with those students being cohorted in A, L, and M through Z cohorts. And our Chester routes we're doing okay with as well. The numbers are looking okay there. So when we're looking at the survey, the questions that come to mind are, bear with me a second. How many more students are we going to have on the buses? And how is that going to affect our ability to provide social distancing on the bus?
Ron, do you want to stop sharing so I can go back over to my slides so you can talk about that?
Yes. All right, so having gone over the ridership update with the upcoming change of instructional programs, we have concerns about the number of students that are going to be riding the buses should parents elect to go from remote to in-person and want to use the bus service. Specifically in terms of the mandate, there was a lot of discussion when we were looking at reopening in the summer, and the guidance that was coming out from different sources, state ed, CDC, Department of Health, and there was a lot of initial discussion about putting one student to a seat, every other seat, and they must social distance or should social distance. So right now the guidance is that all the students on the bus should wear a mask unless there is a medical reason as to why they can't. And our students are doing that for the most part. We've had maybe one or two situations where we've had students that we've had to refer for not wearing masks. With the students wearing the masks and the number of kids we're riding, we cannot provide 6 foot of social distance on the buses. It's just not feasible. So there was some guidance that came out following the initial guidance that from state ed, and it was clarified, I think in July 22nd when they came out, and they said that students should social distance to the extent practical. So there was clarification that came out. To clarify, on a bus, students must wear a face mask and should socially distance to the extent practical.
So with that, we moved the general recommendation at the county level and across the state was a 50% capacity, realizing that 6 feet, we wouldn't be able to transport kids to school. So the 50% rule kind of became the general rule of thumb for transportation and for school districts. And so we moved forward with that percentage as well, which is why Mr. Mackey was just talking a little while ago about our load percentages, and that's where that number comes from. It is still as possible as opposed to an actual mandate. So we are sending out a survey, as Ms. Polchinski just said, for families that are going to need transportation next quarter. And there are 4 different scenarios that you'll see on the screen there where they may need to change and need transportation. But before we have any further real discussions about it, we decided that we're going to wait for the survey results to see where we are. And then we would come back to the board with some different ideas on how to meet those demands and how to meet those needs. Are there any questions or comments from the board specific to transportation?
Okay, so just to be clear, it seems that one bus is definitely fuller than the other ones from what I saw, which should be more concerning. It would be over the 50% capacity, because we're at this point now. So we'll have our survey results for the next meeting, correct?
Yes.
Okay. Does anybody have any questions on this? Because we're going to have to decide what to do. They're going to give us different choices on do we go over 50% or see what we can do. I mean, we don't have any more buses. So.
Do we still need drivers?
Yeah, can we have an update on how we're doing with drivers and substitutes and monitors?
Well, just to speak to that, just making sure I'm not muted here. We kind of this year we're dealing with like almost a perfect storm scenario. We've had several of our staff members who have elected not to return out of health concerns. And the industry typically struggles with driver recruitment during normal times. You know, some people can argue that the high levels of unemployment are presenting recruitment opportunities, but that's not actually the case. And typically it can take up to 6 to 8 weeks to fully train a driver, but we're really not dealing with normal times right now. We're not we've been running bus advertising for bus drivers since I started in August. We've had a total of 5 people who have responded to the ads, only one of which actually came in to fill out an application, and none of them have actually been licensed to drive a bus. What's also impacting the perfect storm scenario is our ability to negotiate the limited accommodations with DMV. As you know, if you try to do anything with your license or your vehicles, you now have to make an appointment with DMV. So I have one person who has expressed an interest in taking that written test, and she went to DMV to make an appointment. She contacted DMV, and she was given an appointment date 2 months out just to take a written test.
So, but right now our buses are covered, correct, Ron? We have someone to drive every run and monitors for our elementary and our middle school runs, but we have exactly enough. Is that
Yes,
correct?
we have no spares. We have exactly enough. And I have to say, I have been very pleased with the commitment of the drivers and the staff in coming to work. Like you said, canceling vacation days, doing things that we need to do to cover changes in schedules, because some of our out-of-district schools will have early releases on some days an hour earlier than they typically have on other days. So it's a constant juggle to try and find to balance everything with the amount of drivers we have. But they are
Okay,
doing an excellent job.
Great. Can I just get an update on how the cleaning of the buses is going? Because I'm the one that believes that if everything stays clean and we are as diligent as possible, that we will be much more successful in keeping the COVID virus to a minimum. So how are they doing getting it
Okay,
all
so
done?
all of the high touch areas on the buses are being cleaned after the morning runs and after the afternoon runs. The drivers are spraying down and wiping down all the high touch areas in the buses, seat backs, railings, anything that the students might be touching. That's all being cleaned twice a day. And at the end of the day, we are also using a disinfectant with an electrostatic sprayer on all of the buses. We do have the windows open to increase ventilation and airflow, as well as the roof hatches. And that's something that I'm hoping that parents and students will take into consideration as we start to get into October and November. I actually drove one of the buses the other day with the window closed. This was the end of September, and it was fairly chilly with the windows closed. So I'm hoping that students will dress appropriately, not only just for the bus stop, but also understanding that we're trying to keep as much air flowing through the buses with the windows and roof hatches open as we get into mid-October, early November.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Sarah, can we make sure, I know we have the principals on here, that maybe they included in their weekly update that the buses might be chillier than normal due to the airflow? And just remind parents, I know not everybody likes to wear a coat, but maybe we could just send out a friendly reminder along with everything else that we send out.
Absolutely.
That it, might be cold.
Absolutely.
Little cold.
Yeah, and
Thank
things like
you.
making sure that the student's hair is dry when they get out on the bus in the morning. Simple little things like that are going to go a long way in keeping everyone healthy.
Absolutely.
Other board
Thank you.
other board members have any questions or comments about transportation?
I
Yes, I'd like
appreciate
to
how
say
detailed
something.
everything is.
Go ahead, TJ.
No, I would say I appreciate how detailed everything was, Ron.
Yes, thank you.
Thank
It
you.
shows that you're really diving into it.
Yukon?
Ron, thank you very
Jen?
much. That was very detailed chart that you showed us. Appreciate that very much.
Well, thank you.
Yes, regarding bus G, as Sue stated, that it concerns her that the number is going over 50%. You mentioned that number, the percentage, that's just what's on paper. It doesn't necessarily mean that every day all those kids that are on paper are riding the bus, correct?
That is correct. And
Yes.
we do have ridership numbers. I just haven't had a chance to really analyze those and see where they are at this point.
And also you mentioned, if I remember correctly, if I heard you correctly, you mentioned bus T is an overflow bus, correct?
Yes. So what we did was realizing that all of the buses initiate centrally from the bus garage area in the morning. Those stops in the area of Elm and Oak and Windermere and Waterstone and right around the bus garage that the other buses would typically pick up stops as they left. we put all of those bus stops onto Route T
Yes.
so that the other buses can go down their area. Like Route, I'm still new to Greenwood Lake, so I'm still learning the terrain.
That's okay.
Some of the buses that go down on the shore sides of the bus of the district, they have to go pretty much all the way down to Jersey and turn around. So putting a second bus on those areas means that we have to send 2 buses all the way down to the end of the state to turn around and come back. So we're trying to take those students off the buses before those buses commit to those 2 shoreline routes.
Yes, and I think that's a solid plan. I think we're covered as far as the, we don't really have to worry about that 50%. It's not a real danger right now. As long as we have that plan in place. Correct, Ron?
Yeah.
Yeah, we are. We're doing everything we can to try and keep the kids safe. We're doing a lot of cleaning of the buses. The drivers are wearing their masks. They're wearing their masks in the bus garage while they're walking, checking in, punching in, using the restroom. I really hope someday to be able to actually see the drivers face to face to see what actually look like. It's been a very strange experience meeting everybody with masks on. That goes throughout the district.
Ron, thank you again. Your chart was very clear. I think I learned a lot from the chart that you showed us. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Ron, one request as we get that survey results and if people change, can we just get the ridership information before our next meeting? If it's just so we make a truly informed decision on any of the possibilities, because I know on paper is one thing, but we need ridership also, especially if people switch with the winter coming to not driving. Just to make sure that we're following as much as we can. If you could do that, I would appreciate it. Thank you. Anybody else have anything?
Thank you, Ron.
Transportation, we're good? Okay, thank you.
All right, at this time, I'd like to turn it over to William Cron, Coach Cron. We have a presentation from him updating us and the board and the community on Section 9 and athletic directors in sports. Bill, are you out there?
Yes, I am.
All
How
right.
are you tonight? So good evening, everybody. I'm here representing the Greenwood Lake Athletic Department. Mr. Ferry also. We've been working very hard with Sarah. We've had sit downs with her to talk about our sports program and what's been going on and what the future of our sports program looks like this year. I know that you were updated in the last board meeting on what's called the return to play proposal. So I had direct contact with Greg Ransom. He's the executive director of Section 9. And the proposal for this year of where we're going to go to winter and then spring, winter, then fall, then spring is still on the table, and there hasn't been any changes as far as that goes. So right now, like, we're still waiting on some answers from the state as far as that goes, and we're scheduling games and things like that. But we need to really start thinking about registering our kids for winter sports and some of the transportation concerns. Like, I know you guys were just talking about a lot of transportation concerns. This could also come up with some transportation concerns as well when it comes to having our athletic program. So, as far as winter sports is concerned, we're talking about girls and boys basketball and also cheerleading. So right now they're still considered a high risk sport. And so at this time, they're not allowing any games and they're not allowing any contact in those sports practices, but they will be allowing practices. So practices could look a little different than normal. Like, they would be doing individual drills or rules and things like that that can take up the time of practice in case anything does shift or change during that time to where they can have games, because there is a possibility that could change at any time within the next couple months. So we're looking forward to starting our program. I know that it's been a beautiful fall, and I miss soccer. I'm sure everybody misses sports. We know Greenwood Lake is very proud of their sports. So, you know, I'm sure that all of you would like to see sports return. I know I would. So as far as that goes, we would like to get sports started, but there are still some questions that have to be answered as far as what's going on in the next month or two. So a few other things that we have to talk about is once we do get approved for games, then we have to talk about like who's coming into the building and kind of limitations we may have on like who we can have, like maybe just parents or 2 people per player. If we're going to put some kind of stickers in the bleacher where they can sit like 6 feet apart or something like that. There hasn't been any complete directive on whether the students would have to wear masks like during play, but they're still discussing that. And also, like, obviously when we come in the building, we take the health survey. So that might be something that the parents or the spectators might have to go through, obviously, on their way into the building. So that's, again, it makes it a little tough. And then also we have a few meetings coming up. The New York State Sports Association is going to be making some decisions as far as sports goes, and that's coming up this week. And we should hear a little bit more about the high risk sports versus the middle risk sports. I would say we're looking good as far as our fall sports that would start in March, and we're looking good as far as our spring sports. Right now, our winter sports, there are still some concerns as far as that goes. So, like I said, I'm very excited that we can move in the right direction as far as sports goes. And I'd be happy to answer any of your questions that you may have or any concerns that you may have about sports. And Mr. Ferry and I will continue to work to get our students back on the field.
Thank you, Bill. So a couple of things I just wanted to point out. One, sports will be open to both remote and in-person students both. It is not something where schools can only offer it to in-person students. So we know parents will have a question about that. And also, as Bill just noted, there are 2 meetings within the next week. So although we don't have a lot of answers right now, we expect to have more answers by November 1st. And I foresee maybe having a board workshop or another board meeting to discuss sports more specifically. As soon as we get that further information, we can share that with you and have a more detailed discussion. But like Bill said, if anyone has questions right now, Bill can try and answer them, or if we're not sure, he can find the answers for us.
I have a question. Is there a plan B for these high-risk sports, like to go to a medium-range sport? Say, is volleyball a high-risk sport compared to basketball, something like that? If there's high risk, you can't have. I'm sorry.
Well, volleyball is listed under the high risk right now, and we would be looking at a March 1st start for volleyball. So that could change before March. So again, I could see where volleyball would again be practicing under certain like restrictions, and whether we have games would be up to the state and the athletic association. So again, we kind of don't know the answer on specifically volleyball, but it still could be something that could change.
So Bill, one thing that I think that Matt is kind of referring to as asking is if our typical winter sports are considered high risk, what winter sports would be considered low risk that we could participate in? So let's say, and I don't know, I'm thinking at the high school level, indoor track is typically a winter sport. And that would be low risk. Is that something we could offer instead of that? Or maybe swimming is low risk. I truly don't know. Are there other winter sports that other schools do that are low risk that we could potentially do for 1 year only so that kids could have a sports option? I believe that's what, Matt, you're kind of asking. Is that correct?
Correct.
Well, I think you could move, and I'm not sure you could actually move one of those lower risk sports into that season because the OCIAA doesn't schedule anything. They have it set up so that the the winter season sports are remaining as the winter season sports, and that the fall season sports would start in March. So I'm not sure that we could actually I mean, it would be great to be able to do that, to move.
No, it wouldn't be moving it, Bill. It would just be what are the winter sports, and of the winter sports, which ones are low risk?
Yeah, I have a list. I have a list of a few of those. I think that we could probably look at and see if that's something we could offer. I'm not really absolutely sure which ones that we can offer. It wouldn't be any of the ones that we have offered in the past. So, but like I did discuss with Sarah earlier today, that they started a bowling program, and that's something that they do in the winter, and it may be obviously a lower risk. The bowling alleys are now set up for this. They have like shower curtains in between the lanes, and they're restricting kids to one lane. So that would be something that maybe we could offer. So that's just one, but there could be others that are on that list that we may be able to offer.
Yeah, my brain was going to like skiing if you can't do basketball, like something, like that. Say.
Yeah, I mean, like if we look at it and we can provide a coach and we can set that up, then I don't see why that couldn't be an option.
Could we offer winter track? I know it's not our typical thing, and we don't have, utilizing the gym somehow as a, just as a participation sport. Is there is a modified winter, right?
I believe that, like, I know Warwick has winter track, so I don't see why we couldn't, if
that track usually draws a lot of kids, and that is considered a low risk sport. Maybe something to look into to get the kids active.
Absolutely. I think whatever we can do to either put something in place of something, or start something new, then I'd be happy.
Okay.
We could also consider something like that with some kind of club designation.
Okay, thanks.
Sure.
Anybody have any other questions about sports? Okay.
Thank you for diving so far into it.
Thanks, Bill.
No problem.
Thank you.
Thank you, Bill.
You're welcome.
And then the last part of my report this evening is principal reports. Mr. Golubchik for the middle school.
Hi, good evening. So we started our high school choice selection process. Melanie C., our guidance counselor, and I have already held our general parent informational sessions, and students received the same presentation during their guidance lesson last week. Earlier this evening, I joined the Chester High School virtual parent presentation, where we actually had a very nice turnout. Warwick High School is hosting their virtual parent informational session on October 29th at 7 p.m. And as in years past, Chester and Warwick will also be presenting to students during the school day as well. For Halloween this year, we won't be able to have our typical contest, but I wanted to share with you that we will still, in the middle school, hold to the spirit of prior years. Students may dress up, and teachers will send us a picture of the most festive costume from their classroom, and then students will have an opportunity on each grade level to judge the most festive costume from that grade level. And we will also create a video for the school with images collected throughout the school day. So just as a note, also Pink Out Day is this Friday, October 23rd, and students should come to school dressed as pink as possible. And we're gonna follow the same process of judging the pinkest students in each grade that I outlined for Halloween.
Thank you, Mr. Golubchik. And Mr. Wallach at the elementary school.
Hi, good evening, everybody. I'll be brief because I know there's a lot on the agenda tonight. I'm hoping everyone can hear me. We will also be doing something different for Halloween than has happened in the past. We love to be able to have a parade and go around the streets in the neighborhood near the school and have a lot of parents come watch us, and that just is not considered something that we're able to do this year. We're going to have individual classroom celebrations. Students obviously will be dressing up. We will have non-food celebrations in the classroom, although I believe we're getting a special treat available through our food service department. We've also asked all the teachers to stream at least a portion of their class celebrations so that parents will have the opportunity to see everybody dressed up in their costumes. That's one way that we can involve them in what we're doing, even though they won't be able to physically come in and join us the way they usually do. So that's going to be Halloween, and it's still going to be a lot of fun, and we will make the absolute best of the situation that we can. The other thing that we're starting to look at is field trips. We're not going anywhere for field trips. And you know, field trips are a fun thing for students. It's a little break from the usual day that they have. So we're looking at what can we do virtually, and there are a lot of opportunities available. Some of them are opportunities where you connect with some of the people you might have seen if you were going to a place for a physical field trip. So we're looking at that on a grade by grade level and a class by class level. And again, seeing what we can do as we have a 180-day school year. It's always fun to have those little things that are a little bit different, a little bit extra. So we will try to be adding those for each of our grades and let everybody have something fun that they can work on without totally changing what we're doing, and obviously everything within our safety guidelines, but also within what we're looking at curricular-wise as well. So that's my brief report for tonight. And as many of you know, I just want to say, I won't be with you guys after this Friday. So 8 weeks here has gone up very quickly, and I certainly appreciate the opportunity to join all of you and help all our students and help all our children and our families and our teachers and do the best that we can for our school. So thank you for that.
And thank you, Mr. Wallach. It has been the most smooth transition I think that could have been possible or that we could have even hoped for. You came in and just kind of hit the ground running right with the first day of school. It has been absolutely fabulous working with you. And sincerely hope that our paths cross again at some point. It's been a true treasure to work with you.
Thank you.
And that's it for my report. So thank you very much.
Thank you, David.
Okay. Yeah. Thank you for jumping in and making it as painless as it's been. Very appreciated. You've done a great job. Okay, so now we're back to our agenda. We have, let's see, next is PTSA liaison. Tracy, you're going to report?
Yes, hi everyone. Let's see. So since masks have become a part of our lives, we started off the 2020-2021 school year with a mask sale. Currently, we have sold 153 masks. Anyone who missed out on this, we will be having a Spirit Wear sale soon, and you can purchase masks through there as well. Our membership for the PTSA 2020-2021 school year is now open. A flyer will be posted to our PTSA Facebook page shortly and emailed out to our district parents. Student membership is $6 and adults are $8. There is a link on the flyer that allows you to join and pay through our membership hub, or you can send in the flyer with the payment through the schools. Please direct it to the if you're sending it to the school, please direct it to the PTSA mailbox. There is a small fee associated with joining through the membership hub. It's not a lot, it's a few cents, less than $1. Although this school year is quite different than past years, the PTSA is still here to support our schools. In addition, we have some fun events planned for our school community. For the month of October, we have a pumpkin carving contest virtually. Pictures can be submitted via our email address, gwlptsa@gmail.com by October 27th, and voting will begin on the 28th. One winner will be chosen from each school and will be announced on October 30th. In November, we will have a holiday shopping fundraiser. Additional information will be announced shortly. In December, we're going to have Cupcake Wars virtually, a Cupcake War contest, and that information will also be available shortly for that. And for the rest of the year, well, starting 2021, we'll have more that we'll be planning. And if you would like to reach out to any of us for any reason, our email address is gwlptsa@gmail.com. Thank you.
Thanks, Tracy. Village of Greenwood Lake, I have the update. Village of Greenwood Lake, from now on, their meetings are the same time as our meetings, so we'll be exchanging updates that way. Senior center operations have been postponed per the county health department. The community center will be open for use for organizations only. They can contact Kathleen Holder for access. Halloween activities are a go. Trick-or-treating is allowed unless an executive order comes from the governor. There will be a curfew of 8 p.m. on both October 30th and October 31st. And that is all that they have to share right now, but we can trick or treat. And then we can move on to Orange County School Board meeting was on October 7th. There was a presentation on education for substance use and misuse from the Alcoholism and Drug Abuse Council of Orange County. It was very interesting. I didn't realize how many services and different programs there are for schools and for families. And then the rest of the meeting was about the NYSBA convention and the annual business meeting on the 31st. Any board members that would like to attend as a non-delegate, just send me an email and I'll send you the Zoom link for the annual business meeting for the state school board. That was it for that. And do we have any liaison reports for Chester or Warwick? Okay.
I do
All
not.
right, we're done. We're done with that part of our program, and we will move on now. Now to the fun stuff. Sarah, you want to move on to the discussion?
I think Mr. Buckley was going to say something.
Oh, I'm sorry.
I was just going to say I have no report from Chester.
Thank you. I thought that's what I heard. I wasn't sure, but thanks. Okay. Discussion on long-term closure, Sarah?
The board asked to be able to have some discussion on long-term closure. So I would do.
And before anybody panics, this is just a discussion so we can start to form a plan in case it happens. A lot of decisions go into place if we have to close that are business decisions, student decisions, education. A lot of things come into play. So I think it's just better to start a conversation in case it happens than have to react if it does. So I don't want anybody to panic that we're talking about closing.
So right now, in the spring, Cuomo did regional closings, Mid-Hudson region, et cetera. And then he eventually closed the whole state. Right now, Governor Cuomo is using zones, and he's calling them red zones, yellow zones, and green zones outside cluster areas. If a community is identified as being in a red zone or a yellow zone, then they must close and will operate remote only. If a district has a red zone and an orange zone, my apologies. If they're in a yellow zone, the districts can remain open, but they must test 20% of their employees, students, total population every single week. The only school right now that's in the yellow zone is locally anyway, is in Monroe. And at this point, they opted to go remote instead of forcing testing on their students and their employees. I want to share that it is also my opinion that forcing testing a population is wrong. And I would look to find ways to try and stop that rule or that. And if we couldn't, it would likely also be my recommendation to move to remote learning until we were out of the yellow zone. I think they're forcing people to take a COVID test. I don't know that I can agree with. That would be long-term closures. So short-term closures are decided either by the district or by the local Department of Health based on the individual details or the potential list of contacts. So one example is in September, I closed for one day. That was my choice. We were not closed by the Department of Health, and I closed so that we could do effective contact tracing. We knew that it was our first bout with contact tracing, and we knew it was going to be a big job. So we closed in order to do that, and we went remote for the day. The other times that we've found out that we've had a case, we were able to do contact tracing. We've gotten shorter and shorter each time. We've developed our skills and our procedures, so we have not had to close in order to do that. If we close for 1 to 2 weeks at a time, we have a relative assurance that we're going to be back within 2 weeks. We would continue to pay all of our employees. We continue to serve food. We continue to deliver the food through the transportation office. Assistants and aides are still working with students, etc. If we get to a point where we have a long-term closure like we did in the spring, we would look to find meaningful work for as many of our employees as possible. But it would be there is a potential, depending on how long we're closed for, that we may have to look at moving some employees up to unemployment. And that's obviously not the goal we have in mind. We want to keep as many employees meaningfully employed as possible. But in the spring, we continued to pay everybody throughout the full spring. In terms of the fiscal responsibility to the community, I don't know that would be something that the board would want to move forward with in the future. So I just wanted to share a little bit of information about short-term and long-term closures, and then, potentially have a board workshop to talk about some more of the details.
Yeah, I would like to move toward, I don't know if anybody else feels, a workshop where we can have a broader discussion that doesn't have a full agenda after it, and just make some of these decisions based on hypotheticals, so we have some plans in place. Kind of difficult. Some of us have been through it. Our new board members haven't, but it closes quick, and then you need to make some decisions pretty fast if it's going to be a long-term closure, like by the state. The 1 and 2 weeks aren't an issue, but if we're going to look at another 4-month closure or 2 months or even 1 month, it does add up payroll wise, and then there's just other decisions on who continues to work and how they work, and just a good idea to have that discussion before anything happens and have a plan to go to, than trying to schedule an emergency meeting and try and figure things out. Anybody have any thoughts, input, anything? Is anybody opposed to doing a workshop?
No, it's a good idea. I think that we should make it a workshop, like you said, versus having an emergency meeting. It's too much to figure out all for an emergency meeting.
Next.
Sue, you're muted.
Yeah, Sue, you're muted.
Okay. Anybody else have anything on this subject? Next subject? Are we doing a workshop or we're not doing a workshop? Anybody?
I'm for a workshop.
Thank you, Matt.
Yes.
Workshop,
Okay,
yes.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Sarah and Mary, can you plan a workshop for us?
Will do.
Okay, and then our next subject of discussion is clubs or virtual clubs.
Yep.
There was some questions. Sarah, you wanna start this?
So-
You want me to start it?
So when we talked over the summer and in early fall about clubs for this year and after school activities, we discussed that because of the cohorting rules, we could not do in-person clubs. And so we were discussed at the board level about moving to virtual clubs for the 2020-21 school year. But doing so meant that we had to think a little bit differently. So first we have to make sure that all kids are home before we start a club, because they're taking the bus home. They have to get home settled and then be able to participate in the club. And it also meant that teachers also needed to get home and get themselves settled. So we sent something out to the teachers asking them to be creative and write club proposals for virtual. It's a little bit different than what we've done in the past. In the past, we sent out a list of clubs and then said, sign up for which clubs you would like to lead. In this case, we started at zero. We started at scratch and had the teachers write their own proposals for clubs. They came up with some very creative ones. And so we're hoping to, we have those on the agenda tonight for approval. And then the teachers, we would send out the flyers that would advertise the clubs and families would be able to sign up for it. We do typically run clubs. And I think I told the board today 5, but I think if I remember correctly afterwards, I think our minimum number was 8 to 10 participants per club, depending on the club, in order to run the club. And then if we do track attendance throughout the school year, and if attendance drops to a certain level, we then end the club. But I know that there were questions about virtual clubs, so I wanted to have the time and space to answer those for you all.
I have a question about the clubs. Say, full winter sports start where kids are, out of their cohorts and now they're playing winter sports. Does that mean clubs will become in person also?
So that's a really good question and a really good conversation. And that's actually a conversation that I had with Bill and Chris Ferry today. I said, it's kind of hard for me to say that we're not mixing cohorts and we're having virtual clubs, but yet it's okay to have sports where we're mixing cohorts. So if we're saying okay to sports, do we say okay to clubs? Do we say okay to mixing cohorts during the school day? There's some mixed messages there to our community. And I think that's definitely something that needs to be discussed further. When we get to the sports, I think that needs to be part of the discussion. Absolutely.
Thank you.
I can't find the email, Sarah. Can you tell us which clubs and the times again?
All of the clubs and all of the times?
Was there, no, just, you know what, let's just go for the elementary school. Can you tell us elementary school side?
I don't have that file open, Yuquan, but let me just look really quickly at what grades. So elementary school has a Lakers Bakers, My Buddy and Me baking. It had both, that is for a 2nd grade of that and a 3rd grade of that. There's also going to be a Techno Kids to engage kids in games, online books, and publishing activities. Then a virtual Lego club at the elementary school. And then another virtual games galore was going to be a middle school club, but also extend down to grade 3. And then a STEAM Kids Club was going to be for grades 2 through 5.
Was this an email sent? I just can't locate it anymore.
Yep, so I believe it was in my Friday update that I sent you what the flyers will look like. We don't have the flyers. We are working on finalizing those and aren't sharing those publicly yet because the clubs haven't been approved. But it had all the different clubs that were being offered.
So, well, my thing is with the clubs is, why don't we try, give it a try, see how many signs up, how many students sign up for the clubs. I mean, what other option? I mean, I'd like to offer more things, but remote clubs. I don't know how it's gonna work, but should we give it a try?
Right now there's 25 clubs, I believe. On the
25
list.
clubs?
I think it's 25 total
Oh,
possible
yeah.
potential clubs. That's a lot.
That's a lot of clubs.
So I personally would like to scale it back to just a few in each school and see how the participation goes. Not 25.
And also I noticed there were 2 time slots for the same club. Was that right, Sarah? Some clubs had 2 time slots?
I don't believe so.
No?
It may be that you saw a draft where we had not talked to the teachers yet, and they said they could do it at a certain time or at another time. And when the flyer was about, we put both in, but it's now been adjusted to only have one time.
One time, okay. And that time, do you think it's better to do, what time approximately you think?
For the clubs?
Yeah.
So the club times vary. I believe the earliest one at the middle school is 3:15. The earliest one at the elementary school, I believe, is at 4. And Ms. Polchinski was in touch with Mr. Mackey about that to make sure that the clubs did not start until after all the kids were home. But then I believe the latest one is, we have a couple that run at 7 p.m. And that was based on teacher availability, because again, teachers are going to be running these clubs from home and doing some different times and availability, some before dinner, some after dinner, etc.
Anybody else? Aaron, do you have anything you want to add to this conversation?
I mean, my concern is that, I asked today just around, how some of this stuff is going to work. Like, how does a cooking club work? These kids are supposed to go out and buy their own ingredients beforehand. That just some of this stuff, just the virtual choir, and I just don't know how some of this stuff is supposed to work.
So those are all questions that I asked as well, Aaron, and I met with a lot of individual ones, and I specifically met with each of the baker ones specifically. One, I got concerned about safety for both the elementary and for the middle school club, and then also about ingredients. And we talked about that they would use things that were usually in kitchens anyway, but give out the recipe beforehand. And I shared that I would not feel comfortable having anyone not be able to participate because they couldn't get the items. And so we discussed using some title money if we needed to help support the clubs and support, so that if kids wanted to participate in a cooking club but didn't have the ingredients, we could supply the ingredients as well.
Okay. I mean, is it possible to make decisions about this after we know interest in it?
It's not, because I guess we theoretically could, but the teachers would already be doing work gathering the information.
Is there a way to do maybe a club phase-in where we add a few each month to see to guide interest? I'm a little concerned with the 6 and 7 o'clock time frames that won't have as much interest, and there's a lot of clubs, and then each one starts to, they add up. Each student starts to add up. If we're only getting 3 students in a club, or not participation every week. I love the clubs, don't get me wrong, but it's just because it's after school and it's not a part of the school day, it makes it just a little different. They have to really want to be there. Everybody likes to sign up, but are they actually going to come? And because we're going to approve all the stipend, and then if nobody follows through, we're in trouble as far as attendance goes.
So also the thing is, if this was back in April or March, it would make total sense. It would make total sense. You know, nobody's going out, everybody's staying home. But you know, it's been a few months now. It's been a couple of months now where kids are already, you know, outside doing sports, going to their friend's house, going to the park. You know, so I definitely see this as I don't see how this will work. This many clubs at once, how the kids will come home instead of doing their regular routine, which is, you know, grab the soccer ball or grab the football and run out, you know, the basketball. So, I don't know. Oh, I wish I knew.
So it sounds like the board would like to pull this agenda item this evening, which you guys can certainly do. I would just need a number for how many clubs you would like us to scale it back to start.
Well, 25 is a lot, Sarah. So
yeah,
you know,
we usually run about 35 clubs each year. Do you want me to start with 3 clubs at each, or 5 clubs at each building? I don't know, or 3 at the elementary school and 5 at the middle school, since it's bigger and has a wider grade span. I'm not.
I think 5 at the middle school is good. I mean, there's some clubs here that I think can help kids academically. So I would, you know, prefer those clubs. And then 3 at the elementary be my vote.
What is the
TJ?
breakdown?
of the clubs?
The clubs per grades and all that. Because just because it's per school doesn't mean it's available to every grade, right?
Yeah, that's true.
So the most clubs are offered to 8th graders. We have several clubs that are 8th grade specific, and that's why. But really 6 through 8. I did keep a little, as I was going through, I kept a little tally of how many middle school clubs, how many elementary school, and then how many per grade level. 4th grade had 7 opportunities, 5th grade had 8, 6th grade had 10, 7th grade had 10, and 8th grade had 12 club opportunities.
I think
maybe
we
we
gotta
could
keep
spread it
us
out.
where they're at, and then if there's no participation, scale down from there. You don't just scale it right away. You know, you got to see who wants to do it.
Well, the problem is once they start, we have to pay every stipend. That's why the scaling back thing. Otherwise, we have to pay at least a partial amount of that stipend, even if they just gauge interest. If they start to do work on the club.
So I agree with, like, you know, pay the partial and then see where we're at, instead of just cutting everything back, then going from there.
Well, I'd rather add, you know, maybe start with 5, and then if the 5 fill up, add 5 more next month. Not do them, just add them. Maybe spread them out instead of just giving everybody 25, where they historically kids sign up for 5 clubs, but they don't make 5 clubs.
Hey Google.
You know, they don't make
turn
them
off
all.
Evan's bedroom light.
Someone.
So you're cutting out for me. I don't know if you're cutting out for anyone else.
Okay. Hang on.
Mine keeps cutting out with everybody. That's why I just got up to move. Right now I'm wondering maybe it's Zoom.
No, it's just Sue that that is doing
Okay.
it, for me at least.
I'm gonna try going off my cell phone. But if somebody else could talk about, do we sell back? Do we go ahead? Can somebody else try that?
I like starting small and adding things on as we go. I think it's a smart move. I'm
Do we
good
have
with
to-
five, by the
Do
way.
we
Just
have any kids
throw
are
that
gonna
out there.
to begin with? Like, do we know what's the big clubs? Like, what 5 you would start with, or is every club like the same amount of kids?
So what I would
How do we know what we're cutting? Is what I'm saying.
So what I would do is I would go back, I would look at the range of interests and the range of grade levels. So I would try one artsy club, one hands-on club, one science. So I would look for a range of clubs that also address a range of grade levels, and I would decide that way.
Thank you.
Anybody
I
else?
just want to make sure that we definitely have opportunity for all grade levels. I definitely agree to be fiscally smart, to start on a lower scale and add from there to see logistically and everything how it all works out. That's my take on it.
I just want to check on NJHS and student government. Are we counting those as 2 of the 5 clubs, or are we counting those outside of the 5 clubs?
Separate.
No, those are separate, right?
Those are separate, I would think.
Okay, so 23 clubs.
Okay, 23 clubs. Does anybody have a problem with them going forward with 5 clubs now and then 5 clubs in the next month after we get a little bit of feedback to make sure they're working? We can, and at that point we could add them all. But anybody have a problem with judging some interest first?
So Sarah, is it a problem that we start with 5 and 3, and then we see a surge in interest, then we can just add? Is there a problem?
No, I think I can get down. It's going to be harder at the middle school because we have so many. That's where they really start branching into specifics. Like we have the Spanish. We actually had several parents specifically request a Spanish club because we don't have Spanish this year. And our 5th and 6th graders have had Spanish for years and now suddenly don't have it and then are going to pick it back up again in 7th grade. So we had a couple parents ask specifically for Spanish club. So that's one that I would likely look to run. And then it's just looking at different interests and making sure I meet a range of interest and a range of grade levels from there. Is it going to be easy? No. Is it going to be fun? No, doing that? No. But can I get it to 5? Yes. And 3 at the elementary school and 5 at the middle school? Yes, I can get it down to that.
I don't think we cut it until we know what the interest is.
Can we do a survey for the students and see what generates interest before we make any decisions?
Yes, I really think that starting small and going forward with it is the smartest way to do it. We can't just go full on and everybody's going to be like, yay, for a week, and then they're going to drop off, and then it's going to be a big bust. So I really agree with starting small. I mean, 5 and 5, whatever you want to do. I don't care about the amount, but starting small and building from there is the way I really feel strongly about.
I also just want to go ahead and say now, and I'm thinking through this in my head, so please pardon me, but for not knowing all of the exact answers right away, and I may think of other things after tonight. But we would have to move to a lottery system in terms of participation as well by running such fewer clubs. When there's a lot of clubs, then you have, kids are spread out. When you only offer 5 clubs to an entire student body, they're all going to want in. So what we'll do is we'll move to a lottery system for participation in clubs.
So you think, what's a number that you think? Well, 25 is high. So what's a number, Sarah, you think that it'd be easier? I understand the 5 is, maybe 5 is not correct. Now that I think about it.
I mean, do you think
From a school such as a middle school, where so many clubs are offered and so many different levels of grades, yeah, cutting down to 5 may not be possible. I mean, everything's possible, but it may not be feasible. So what do you think? You think 10 would be?
I don't know, Yuquan, I'm not trying to be difficult. I'm truly not.
Is there
I mean-
since it's virtual, is there a max though of the amount of kids that can go into a club?
So that was part of our questionnaire that teachers had to submit, is have the max number of students. And we have everything from open, as many as want to, 20 to 30. This one has 8. This one has 20 to 25. One has 16 to 20 kids. 10 to 20, 10 to 15, 6 to 8. Depends on the club.
Sounds reasonable.
I mean, right off the bat, to me, the first one I would cut would be the 8 one, because that's one that limits the most amount of kids.
I was thinking the same thing. That one's got to go. All right, next.
Yeah,
What do you,
I have no idea what it is. It could honestly be a great club, but it's not feasible. Only have 8 kids for a full stipend, where another staff member could have, up to 100 kids, that the Google Meet or Zoom can handle. It's just, we want to reach as many as we can.
I mean, should we just pull it from the agenda and just have a little more discussion on it so we get greater detail on?
Well,
I'm just gonna
personally,
throw
I
this
think
out
we should
there.
I feel like we should just have the conversation now, do a limited amount. I would rather us do a limited amount than do nothing at all.
No, I know, but
And then discuss it
doing a
further.
limited amount and having a lottery is limiting, it's limiting the kids as well. So now you have kids that might not be able to participate.
Well, if we keep it to the same as if it was in school, it still limits. There's still only so many kids that could be in certain type of clubs. So if we keep or Sarah keeps the 5 clubs that accept the highest amount of kids at one time, then at least we're able to get as many in as possible for the moment, instead of having nothing at all, because it would have been limited inside school anyway. How many can you fit
No, I
in
know.
a classroom?
I'm not saying do nothing at all, but because it's virtual and the times are extremely different, it really just limits who's going to be able to participate.
No, that's why I'm saying I think before we table the discussion, we should at least move forward with doing something, at least for now, until we can go into further, we can get more information on it. That's just another month lost.
Is there a rule that says we can't gauge interest before deciding what to move forward with? Like, where does it say like someone's got to get a stipend just because they offered it?
Well, the issue is the research that they have to do behind it as to how they would offer it, what they would offer, and how they would go about it. That's all work toward that club, which is the issue that comes into the stipend.
They did that already.
It's more that even if we do gauge interest, I don't know that it would be reflected in the actual sign up. So what I have found in the past, and we can do it, absolutely. What I found in the past is when you gauge interest in something, everybody's interested. And then when you actually go to do it, it's half of that, it's a quarter of that, it's a third of that. They don't actually end up signing up and participating in it.
What if we moved 10 clubs in the middle school, 5 in the elementary school, and revisit in December for the remaining clubs? Then we're meeting everybody halfway. I know it forces Sarah to cut it down, but 10 is better than 5. And just make sure that we're actually filling these clubs and that they're participating.
I've started going through and looking at some different clubs and you know, eliminating some repeats or things that overlap, and I can get it down.
I just would rather, I don't know. Everybody has an opinion here. I just think even if we started at half, I'm just concerned that the time frame with the middle school conflicts with a lot of other activities. Anybody else? What are we doing? Are we pulling it from the agenda? Are we not pulling it from?
Why don't I work to get the middle school down to 5 to 7, depending on making sure I hit a range, and the middle school down to, or the elementary school down to 3 or 4, depending on the range. And would that be?
Yeah, and then if
can we just go around and have each person
sure
say what they want, just so we can move on with this?
TJ, what's your opinion?
I say we do a couple of them for now. I say, you know, Sarah, if possible, choose the ones that accept the highest enrollment to make it an easier process for you. And then we gauge it and we come back in December or the next month or anything like that.
Okay. Matt, I'm just going down the screen. Matt?
I say we offer as much as possible, especially what's going on with school now with COVID and everything. And then if we need to scale down, we scale down from there.
Okay. Barbara?
I agree with TJ. Start small, add it on as we go.
Michelle?
Yeah, I think we should start small. I mean, I would just prioritize, you know, as far as what would benefit the kids academically this year, like the Spanish club, those things.
Spanish club, we can just say if it was a parent request, we'll definitely put that in there. Homework club is hit or miss in the past. That Sarah might have some data on that as how useful that's been. But okay. Your opinion.
Well, I don't want to micromanage, just tell Sarah which clubs she should run. But I'm pretty sure she'll find the right clubs to run. Yeah,
no,
but
I was just saying.
But the thing is that Sarah, you know, we're not saying it has to be 10. It has to be 3. You know, just you know, find a number that works.
Right.
You know, it could be 9. It could be 11. We trust you.
Absolutely.
These weren't all going to start right away anyway, right?
Do they all start at the same time?
There were 1 or 2 that were second semester, I believe, but most of them started. Most of them, anything that was full is full year.
Aaron?
Yeah, I guess start small. I'll go with start small. I mean, I don't want to take anything away. I just want to make sure they're being used. It's just some of this stuff just seems so unique to do virtually to me.
Yeah, I agree with Aaron. You know, the thing is, who knows if it's going to work? And, you know, if it does work, we'll go full on. You know?
Absolutely.
But, you know, I hope it works. I hope everyone signs up.
Can we start out in that?
How you know it's going to work when you cut it already? You don't know. You just cut it.
Well, we're not cutting it. We're seeing if we're seeing what we can do. Instead of offering something that we never offered before, instead of going big from the beginning, where there are risks involved, you know, financially, you know, I think we should start in a safe place, and then we could learn from it. If it works, then yeah, we're gonna put more clubs in.
Right.
No, we're not. We're by cutting some clubs due to caution. I don't think we're doing a disservice to the kids. You know, I think there's a issue of caution that we have to monitor with what's
And
going
we're
on
not even
with
we're
COVID.
not even cutting it. It's
Yeah,
not even
it's just
cutting it.
delaying
It's
it.
just
We're just-
temporarily. Yeah.
Right, we're just
Mhm.
delaying the start.
Yeah, we're
Why
just
don't
making it a little
we-
light. You know, we're not
If
cutting it.
if I'm hearing everybody already, I believe we're going to start with 3 to 5 in one school and 5 to 10 in the other. We'll let Sarah make the decision on what ones. Reconvene this discussion in December after they've started. And if it's going well and they're full, we will move to add the next 5 to 10 in each, whatever it is. Does that sound like the consensus to me? That's what I'm hearing. Sarah, is that what you're hearing?
You're on mute.
My apologies. I'm hearing the theme is start small. Start smaller. Go back to the drawing board. Pick a handful of clubs at each school that covers a decent range. 3 to 5, give or take a number on each end, depending on what really covers a good range, and make sure all kids have an opportunity. Focus on academics and things that really do lend themselves to a virtual environment. So that's
if Sarah, I think everybody is on the same opinion though, that if response is big and you needs to be added sooner, whatever, or if you think 5 isn't enough and it go up to 10, we'll give you decide in that 5 to 7, as high as 10 in the middle school, 3 to 5 in the elementary school. I think that's starting conservative, but not too conservative. And we'll reconvene a discussion in December. And if everything's good, we'll add the rest of them on. Is that okay, everybody? We can move on now?
Yes.
Yes, please.
Okay. All right, let's move on to privilege of the floor. Would anyone like to speak publicly? Please give your name and address and limit it to 3 minutes. Okay.
Hi, could I speak? This is Teresa Finn.
Yes, Teresa, please.
Hi, everybody.
Hi,
So
Teresa.
just real quick, just on that subject that you were just talking about, let's just keep in mind that the kids don't have any after-school activities, even from the community, because of what's going on. So any clubs that we could do to keep them active, especially now that it's going to start getting dark out, they won't be able to go out and play like they were doing. Just whatever we could do to keep them active and yes, I know academically, but they also need to have a little bit of fun if we could do something like that. All the teachers do such a great job with the clubs, and I know the kids love it. So the more we could do, I feel the better. That's just my opinion.
Thanks, Teresa. We don't disagree. We just, I think, may need to do it 2 phases. And yeah, the fun stuff is important too. But we also have to watch our fiscal responsibilities at times. And we'll do our best. If come November, Sarah has an overwhelming response, we'll move forward in November with more. It's not a definite no.
No, I know you guys will do the best. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Teresa. Is there anybody else that would like a public comment? Okay. Let's move on to our agenda. Can I have a motion to convert here upon Caitlin Averill as presented? Jeffrey, did you have something you wanted to say, or we're just voting?
do.
Did this already?
I do. She's at the elementary school.
Okay.
Uh,
Okay, I'm sorry.
No, that's okay. So, Caitlin, are you in there somewhere? Can you wave or say something till you come to the front of the
I
screen?
see her.
Hi.
There you are.
Hi,
Okay.
Caitlin.
Here.
All right, so Caitlin came to us as an experienced teacher, and she very quickly became a valued team member at both grade level and at her school level. Her amazing organizational skills and ability to make things pretty impressed even the most type A personalities. More than that, though, has been her ability to really study each and every child, know who they are both as people and as little learners. Ask her a question, and she can quickly tell you anything you want to know about one of her students. She soon began taking other roles on at the school level, joining the Parent Participation Committee, Exploration Committees, and several other committees. And she also began sharing her expertise across the district with her colleagues by teaching staff development courses. Her knowledge and experience with Math Talk made her a name across the district, not just at the elementary school. Caitlin is reflective, professional, willing to take risks, and is a true asset to our Greenwood Lake community. It is my distinct honor to recommend her for tenure this evening.
Thank you, Sarah. Okay, can I have the motion to confer tenure on Caitlin, please? Motion, TJ, second, Aaron. All in favor of tenure, please vote. Aye.
Aye.
Motion passes 7-0. Congratulations, Caitlin. Thank you for your dedication.
Thank you.
Congratulations.
Okay. May I have a motion to approve the first reading of the NYSBA policy manual sections as presented of 1,000, 2,000, 3,000, the first reading? Motion, please.
Motion.
Matt. Michelle, okay. Is there any discussion? I know we gave out the new policy manual of these things to the new members. A discussion? We're good to go? Okay, let's vote. All in favor? Okay, motion passes 7-0. A motion to approve policy 5676, privacy and security for student data and teacher and principal data as a second reading and adoption. A motion, please. Matt, second. Barbara?
Second.
Michelle, okay. All in favor? Is there any discussion on the data policy? Because this is by law, we have to do this. All in favor? Everybody's hands up. Opposed? Motion passes 7-0. A motion to approve the September 2020 financial report as presented. Motion, please.
Motion.
Second, Matt. Any discussion? All in favor? Opposed? Motion passes 7-0. A motion to approve Hudson Valley Earthworks for snow plowing, snow removal as presented. Motion, please. Matt, second, TJ. Is there any discussion? All in favor? Opposed? Motion passes 7-0. A motion to accept the annual external audit report from Nugent and Hausler as presented. Motion, please.
Motion.
Michelle, a second. That Matt. Okay. Any discussion? We've already had our report, so let's move forward with a vote. All in favor? Opposed? Motion passes 7-0. A motion to accept the corrective action plan as presented. Motion?
Motion.
Second, Matt? Okay. Any discussion? All in favor? Opposed? Motion passes 7-0. A motion to approve and adopt the ESSA Accountability 2020-2021 Participation Rate Improvement Plan for the middle school. Motion, please. Matt, second. Oh, Yukon. Any discussion? All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries 7-0. A motion to approve the purchase of personal protective equipment as presented. I'm going to read the whole thing now because it's a mouthful. When the board approved the personal protection equipment for prevention and spread of COVID as ordinary contingent expense, and where the board has retained unassigned fund balance in excess of the 4% in order to have funds available as needed to offset unexpected expenditures that may arise related to COVID. We hereby authorize the expenditure of funds from unassigned fund balance to cover the cost of purchasing the PPE as an ordinary contingent expense in the amount of $81,064. Copy will be incorporated. Okay, a motion.
Motion.
Second, TJ. Any discussion? Okay, all in favor? Opposed? Motion carries 7-0. A motion to approve the MOA with the GLTA for APPR as presented. Motion, please. Matt, second.
Second.
Michelle. Okay, any discussion? All in favor? Opposed? Motion carries 0. A motion to approve unemployment charges as presented. And again, I'm going to read this. The board retained unassigned funds in excess of percent in order to have unexpected expenditures that may arise due to COVID. We authorize the expenditure of funds of unassigned fund balance to cover the cost of unemployment charges and ordinary contingency expense in the amount of $29,000. Is there any discussion on this? Everybody got that?
Actually, I have a question about it.
Go ahead, TJ.
And when it comes to unemployment, how does that work for the school district? Do we pay out full? When somebody's paid, do we pay 100% of that? Do we just pay a portion of unemployment? How does that work for a school district?
Yes, we pay. We are self-insured.
So if somebody claims unemployment, we cover 100% of what they get.
Yes.
Any other questions?
Hold on.
Okay. You're done, TJ? Or you're thinking?
Hold on.
So, Anne, on the spreadsheet that I was given, we weren't paying 100%, I didn't think. We are? Because we don't pay the COVID extra amount of money.
No, correct. This is just for New York State.
Straight unemployment. The COVID is federal.
Okay.
Okay, so an employee claims unemployment, not the additional COVID benefit of the 600 or whatever, but when an employee claims unemployment, we cover 100% of that expense.
Their
State
claim.
unemployment.
Of their claim.
Okay, I wasn't sure if there was like a percentage we paid into and it was the general fund for the state or how that worked, so.
So we pay each person's unemployment. This also comes into factor when we have that workshop. Account cost. That's part of one of the things to discuss. And for anybody else, unemployment right now, there's no federal pandemic unemployment being given to anybody in New York. I know that. Anyway, can I have a motion to approve this? If anybody else has any questions, please ask, but otherwise let's go with a motion. TJ, second?
Second.
Yuquan? Michelle, okay. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, the motion carries 7-0. Thank you, Anne, for the explanation. A motion to extend the FMLA leave of absence of Diane Connolly as presented.
Sue,
Motion, please.
Sue, can I interrupt?
Sure.
Okay, thank you. I need to jump back to 10.6. I don't recall hearing the motion and approval on that.
10.6.
Mhm.
Oh, maybe because I skipped it, Mary. Let's go back to 10.6. A motion to approve accrued employee benefit as presented. Motion, please. Aaron, thank you. Second, Matt. All in favor if there's no discussion? All in favor? Opposed? Motion carries 7-0, Mary. Sorry.
That's okay.
Okay, a motion to extend the FMLA leave of absence of Diane Connolly as presented. Can I have a motion? TJ, second. Matt, all in favor? Everybody opposed? Motion carries 7-0. A motion to extend the leave replacement of David Wallach as presented. A motion, please. Aaron, second. Matt, all in favor? Opposed? Motion carries 7-0. Thank you, David, for sending this. We very much appreciate that. A motion to approve the leave of absence of Victor Pignataro as presented. Motion? Aaron, second. Matt? All in favor? Opposed? Motion carries 7-0. A motion to appoint the following mentors for the 2020-2021 school year, and there's a list of a couple of teachers: Jill Foley, Rosemary DiBernardi, Jen Pena, and Christina Bianco. Motion, please. TJ, second. Matt? All in favor? Opposed? 7-0. Motion carries. Motion to appoint Cynthia Finfrock as leave replacement teacher as presented. A motion, please. Matt, second. TJ, all in favor? Opposed? Motion carries 7-0. A motion to execute the employment agreement of non-represented staff as presented. A motion, please. Matt, second. TJ, all in favor? Opposed? Motion carries 7-0. A motion to approve terms and conditions of employment agreement and appoint William Cron and Christopher Perry as co-athletic directors as presented. A motion, please. Matt, second. Michelle, all in favor, please. Opposed? Motion carries 7-0. A motion to approve the salary adjustment of the 6th assignment as presented at this meeting. A motion, please. Matt, second. Someone? Aaron, thank you. All in favor? Opposed? Motion carries 7-0. A motion to approve Chris Ferry and Kara Zdrajewski, I'm sorry, for middle school and elementary school yearbook as presented. Motion, please. Matt and Michelle. Okay, all in favor? Opposed? Motion carries 7-0. Mary, what do we have to do with this next one, 11.10? Because it's definitely modified or withdrawn. You're muted, Mary. Can't hear you.
If you're going to approve specific ones, you would state that. Otherwise, you pull it and it needs to be put back on for the next meeting.
How do we put? Do we have to make an amendment?
You would amend 11.10
We're
and
going to pull
state the ones
11.10. No, we
completely.
don't know what they are. So we're just going to pull that. Do I have to
Yes.
make a motion?
Yes.
Okay, I'm going to make a motion to remove 11.10, approve clubs and club advisors from the agenda, and it will be revised for this month. Can I have a second?
Second.
Michelle?
Who was first? I'm sorry, I didn't hear.
I was first. I did it.
Okay.
Michelle did the second. All in favor? And opposed? Okay, motion carries 7-0 to remove it. Thank you. A motion to approve the middle school garden stipend to Lisa Warren as presented. Motion, please. Aaron, second. Yuquan. Any discussion? Okay, all in favor? Opposed? Motion carries 7-0. A motion to change the employment status and appoint bus monitor and appoint as a bus monitor as presented. Motion, Matt. Second, Yuquan. All in favor? Opposed? Motion carries 7-0. A motion to appoint substitute registered nurses, Stoba and McCullough as presented. A motion, please. Matt, second. Barbara, all in favor? Opposed? Motion carries 7-0. We thank them very much. Nurses are hard to play. Motion to appoint non-certified substitute teacher Scott Nickerson as presented. A motion, please. Matt, second. TJ, all in favor? Opposed? Motion carries 7-0. A motion to appoint William Colbin as substitute custodian as presented. Motion, please. Matt, second. TJ, all in favor? Opposed? Motion carries 7-0. A motion to revoke the appointment of Elena Vreeland as bus monitor as presented. Motion, please. Matt, second. Barbara, all in favor? Opposed? Motion carries 7-0. A motion to accept the CPSE CSE recommendations as presented. A motion, please. Aaron, TJ, all in favor? Opposed? Motion carries 7-0. We will move into executive session now. No action will be taken after executive session. Our next board meeting will be on November 16th at 7 p.m. Can I have a motion to enter into executive session for the reason pursuant to the Taylor Law involving Greenwood Lake Teachers Association Union? Barbara, second. TJ, all in favor? Opposed? Motion carries 7-0. That was speed agenda. Okay, everybody, thank you for coming.